attending on this great morning in West Perth. Just to run through basically yesterday's announcement on the exploration target statement put out for the Burmeister lithium pegmatite deposit, and I'll run through a part of a presentation on that and just refer to the slides, which is basically taken straight out of the announcement. So I'll kick that off. Converting to slideshow mode. That's just a picture of a Burmeister looking to the south towards Ravensthorpe, and some of the drill holes that we had drilling had drilled on Burmeister prior to the exploration target statement being announced. So Burmeister deposit. So basically, it's a stacked pegmatite system. How this came about to start with was that even though we were showing a lot of the stacked pegmatite system on our cross sections in our previous drilling, from the comments on that we were getting and feedback from shareholders and investors, that there wasn't really a great appreciation on how large Burmeister potential was. A lot of that, I think, had to do with our wide space drilling to start with. So because we have such a consistent ore body, which is quite unusual for pegmatite systems, we were able to drill on a wide spacing, 200 by 200 and 200 by 100 meters, which on a large map doesn't look that big, but in fact it's 1,500 meters long in the main body, and 800 meters wide, and the exploration target statement has come out basically with 15 to 20 million tons, 0.97 to 1.19. This is a lot of work's gone into this, so it's not just an exploration target statement that we've based on something like geophysics or geology, or just our thumbsuck, as some exploration target statements are. This is actually from the drilling that we've conducted since discovery in October 2023, so it's very recent drilling. That drilling was modelled as well, and then the model was expanded for the potential, basically where the deposits open to the west and to the north, and so it's a very rigorous model as well, and so that's why the range is quite tight, with only 5 million tons separating the high and the low range. We believe that we can easily achieve the high range just by simple infill drilling, and because we have such a consistent deposit as well, we believe we can, and our modeler also believes that we can get that done on a 100 by 100 meter spacing, which is for an inferred resource, which is quite wide for a pegmatite deposit. Most of them are 80 by 80 or less to get an inferred resource. So we're very fortunate in that regard, and that means that we'll be able to keep our costs low as we go further on with our drilling as well. We also did some conceptual pitch shells, because there was also not an appreciation for this is potentially economic deposit here. So we got them done through MineComp, and we used the parameters from an actual operating mine as well. So it's not something that we just plucked out of the air. It's actual real world data. So we believe it's a potential standalone size and grade. As we said before, I think we'll easily reach the upper range limit, 20 million tons, 1.19. The modelling, because of the wide space drilling, the grades tend to drop off between holes, so we end up with a bit of stripiness in our grade definitions. But that's to be expected when it's just a very wide space drilling. As we close that drilling up, obviously that's going to fill up all of those spaces with actual high grade intercepts, pretty similar to what you can see there from our recent drilling. And as you can see there's not a lot there that's below 1.19. So we're expecting that our infill drilling is going to basically be prove the deposit up when we get to an inferred status at at the high end level grade 1.19 target, or even higher. So this long section here, this basically demonstrates again the economical orientations of the deposit. So we're still open at depth. The $2,500 per ton 6% concentrate shell that we've done basically goes right down to the bottom of the pegmatites as they're currently projected and defined. So there's plenty of scope there to go even deeper, and in fact, you'd be doing the deposit a disservice if you didn't go deeper and beyond the current pit shells. I did have a question on, what's the relevance of the $1,500 shell and the $2,500 shell when the current price is around $1,150. Well, the current price is actually, it's not really set in stone. So a lot of it's $1,150 up to $1,300, depending on how current producers contracts run. But I can tell you now that nobody is doing a feasibility study based on the current spot prices. You need to look at what a reasonable long-term price is, and others are doing $1,500 as a reasonable price. Some are doing $2,500 a ton as a reasonable long-term price because they potentially need that for their underground developments. We're concentrating on looking at mineralisation which is open pittable. Underground potential is something for another day, but at this stage we're concentrating on what we should be able to get out from an open pit. That's the most economic to get out. It protects you for drops in spodumene pricing to low levels like they are now, and you're not exposed to higher costs for underground. So and these basically pit shells, as I mentioned before, they're derived from real world data. It's derived from the Mount Catlin feasibility study expansion. The Mount Catlin ore body, if you look it up online, it looks very similar in orientation to what we have in this long section here for our Burmeister deposit, and so we believe that it's a good analogy to use in terms of costs applied, and also the plant that is used down at Mount Catlin is very similar in process flow sheet to what we expect that we'll be using for the Burmeister pegmatites as well. And we do have currently drill core in IMO labs getting assessed for metallurgical test work on CIDA tests, which basically should show us which flow sheet we should be tending towards as we get more and more of that data back. It's early days for that at the moment. It's quite a long process, 18 weeks in total, and we're currently in week 4 of that at the moment. So as results come to hand, then we'll release to the market. So I was a question about assuming that MinRes sets up the processing plant. When would TG Metals think of putting first shovel in the ground? Well, as for those of you who don't know, look up the Poseidon announcement from yesterday as well, or in fact it was the last night, the night before that, where there's some doubt as to whether that will the deal will actually go ahead now. But even if it did, we're thinking of Burmeister as a standalone deposit. It doesn't need to be put through a third-party plant at this size. At a 20 million tonne upper range, that's larger than Mount Catlin was started on. It's larger than even that I believe that Mount Marion and Bald Hill were started on as well. So it's of a size where it can be started. You don't need to have a 100 million tonne deposit. Most of the plants associated with these deposits are between 1 million and 3 million tonne per annum, and 3 million on the upper side. So at a 1 million tonne per annum plant, you're looking at a potential 20-year mine life. How much mine life do you need? So, really, and you have to customise these plants to these deposits. Every pegmatite's different, as we've seen with Burmeister. Our mineralogy is a lot different to what you find in others. We don't have any petalite or lepidolite to mess about with our metallurgical work. So we're looking at spodumene only as a lithium carrier, and because of that, we're thinking we're going to have simple metallurgy as well. So you need to customise your plant to your deposit. Having a custom milling facility, I think, is probably not going to do a deposit justice. As I mentioned before, we believe we can get away with 100 by 100 infill on the first inferred resource. And you can see from this long section there, so these are our 200 metre spacings. We're just going to put holes in between. That's all we're going to do. We're going to use our pit shells to define our depths to drill to, and to pour our extensions. So it's all very good, useful information that we use going forward. Again, just touching on the Burmeister mineralogy, by far and away dominant spodumene, and as I said, our metallurgy tests are underway on our composite ore samples for, and this first stage of metallurgical test work will guide us in selecting our preferred flow sheet, and then metallurgical test work going forward, which will obviously involve some more core sample gathering in our inferred and then on to indicated resource definition, and those will be more targeted metallurgical test work on each aspect of the flow sheet. And then, of course, there's Jägermeister. So, a lot of we recognise that a lot of our investors and are focused on Jägermeister, but we want to keep in mind, Burmeister by itself is a significant deposit, and fair enough. If we find something at Jägermeister, particularly in our targets A and B, which are our priority targets there, then there potentially could be of a size similar to Burmeister. As you can see on this map here, the soil anomaly for both target A and B on Jägermeister is an order of magnitude larger than it is on Burmeister, and as we've seen, the higher grade lithium anomalies tend to reflect where the pegmatites project towards surface. So if you put that over Jägermeister A and B targets, for instance, then you're looking at a significant size that we've got to explore there for lithium pegmatites. The drilling POWs, there's another question's got some of it, and when they're due in. They're pending at the moment with DEMERS. We have our Aboriginal heritage surveys; they're all completed. We have our flora, fauna surveys as well, have been done. We're waiting to see if we need to do any additional further targeted surveys on that. Hopefully we don't, but if we do, then we'll do those as well to get our POWs progressed for our first drilling on Jägermeister. Regardless of that, we do have spare capacity at Burmeister to begin our further infill drilling on Burmeister. So we may make a start on Burmeister first, and then swing the rig over to Jägermeister targets A and B as soon as we get the POW approvals for that. Both of the POWs are in at DEMERS at the moment, pending. Seismic work. So we've done some seismic work out at site. It was delayed a bit due to rain. The way that these surveys are done, they take in a large area. There's a lot of receiver phones and that sort of thing that have to go into the ground, and the equipment used is fairly heavy. So any rain out there, and basically you've got to wait till it dries out before you can do your surveys. So the field work for that has just been completed in the last week. and currently data processing is underway. That should take about 2 weeks to get the data back for that. The 2 lines that we've done run over Burmeister, that's so that we can pick up the known pegmatites that we have defined there with drilling and modelling. It'll also give us a better handle on any faults that are running through. We know we do have a fault running through Burmeister, which gives the pegmatites an uplift towards the surface, which is good. But where it exactly lies in there, we don't know. So the seismic should pick that up well as well, and give us a good location for that fault, and also any others that occur in that area. And it also runs across Jägermeister. So that was a much longer line. Basically runs through target C and through target A, and from that we should be able to apply the learnings from Burmeister onto Jägermeister, and that'll help with our drill targeting as well, prioritising our first holes, because of course we want to get success as fast as we can there. So everything that we can use to possibly refine that, we're using. And as I mentioned before, targets A and B are going to be our first priority in Jägermeister. So then onto our emerging prospects. So we haven't really done a lot of lithium prospecting yet down at Tay, which is to the south of Burmeister and Jägermeister, and there's a lot of area there to cover. We've got a lot more prioritising work to do there before we have a crack at even drilling there. So while we're doing that in the background, of course, we're going to be concentrating on getting first holes in Jägermeister. Taylor Rocks is a newly granted tenement out to the east that bounds one of Rio Tinto's tenements. It takes in a bit of a raft of greenstone, and most of it is undercover. And of course, as we know, that's our specialty, and pegmatites undercover, which is the Burmeister Jägermeister area. Soil sampling is an effective method, as we know, used from our previous works in Lake Johnson. So we're going to apply that to Taylor Rocks as well. But that's very initial stages. We've only just got that tenement granted. We've got another few strategic applications around the Poseidon works up at Windy Hill, and as well as extensions to Burmeister North as well. All strategically picked up over the last 2 years since listing. The prospectivity of the belt, though, is still the entire 50 kilometres. We're not writing anything off. A lot of this, I don't think there was too many people to start with who were that hopeful of getting something on our ground, when we've proven that wrong. So Burmeister is a significant deposit, and we hope to find more with our 50 kilometres of greenstone belt covered. So in short, we've got our ongoing exploration is delivering results. We've got a significant deposit now. We're looking for another one, but also we're looking to grow the Burmeister one we've already got as well, and then moving forward with studies. So we're getting a head start. And just our key investment drivers for everyone going forward. You know, our exploration methodology has been proven to work. We're carrying on with that. It's also economic. We're placing shareholders' funds where they're getting best bang for their buck. We're not wasting any funds there. We're trying to do everything with a minimum amount of drilling required, and to get discoveries. And we're using our proven tools. Soil sampling is our proven effective tool at Lake Johnson. We've got the experience and knowledge behind that on what works best. So we're applying it to all of our other areas. And so just answering another couple of questions too, Evie, while I'm here. So got a question on what's been causing the delays to the drilling approvals for Jägermeister. So like we are in a proposed nature reserve. that does carry with it some extra requirements that we have to go through. So in addition to DEMAs, we have to get reference to other departments as well, environmental departments. So they've got to look at our POWs and as well before they get approved. We've dealt with this before, so we know what we need to do. It's just a matter. It does take a little bit longer than if you weren't within a PNR. So we're expecting to get our approvals for drilling very soon, and we're looking forward to actually getting back on the ground and drilling. Okay, I think, have you got any more questions, Evie?
Do have one that has come through from Brad. Thanks for that. Has a seismic survey showed any correlation with the drilled pegmatites at Burmeister, and has the seismic showed anything of interest at Jagger?
Yeah, so at the moment, the data acquisition has been done in the field, and it's now in the processing. So the processing of the data takes a long time, 2 weeks basically, and we're also getting that checked by a third party as well, because the applications for seismic previously have mainly been oil and gas industry. Using it for hard rock is still something new. They are also doing a seismic in a new area. It's never been done before at Lake Johnson. So it needs to be examined by more than one person at the moment, more than one geophysicist, before we get our results. So at the moment, we haven't seen any preliminary results from that. So we're also looking forward to what they tell us about Burmeister and Jägermeister.
Does anyone have any other questions? I'll just give